Yeah, the time change is rough. I really missed that hour this morning. So,
Night was too short,
yeah.
too dark this morning.
Yeah, yeah, it's cloudy in Denver too. Yeah. We'll give folks another couple minutes. Hi, Diana. Thanks for joining.
I do have a report on some of the federal grants and some of the state grants that are in our region.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great, Clyde. Yeah, we definitely will have time in the agenda for updates and stuff. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So we're giving folks another minute or two. I think right now we're short of a quorum by one.
Yeah, that's right.
Hi, Erin. Thanks for joining. And Courtney, for minutes, let's see, was it only one set of minutes? The
It
December.
is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, we may not be able to approve those today, but if we don't have a quorum, but just wanted to double check that there weren't others.
Hi, Drew. I'm Jackie. Hi. Thank you for helping us so much. Oh, I'm so sorry to bother you to start lunch. That's okay. I just wanted to. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we do not have a quorum. So I guess with that, we do have some, hey, Courtney, there is a lot of noise like in the background. Thank you. So I won't call the meeting to order or go through roll call or anything. I'll keep an eye out though. If we do gain one more committee member, then we can approve some minutes. I think that was the only business item on the agenda today. But to respect everybody's time, we do have Diana, and thank you, Diana, for joining, to give an update about the Forest Resilience Guide and the contract. And I was hoping just to discuss a little bit with the committee members about expectations for moving forward from this committee and how we can help support the State Forest Service and help support Diana and our contractor. And then talk about the schedule and even go into detail about the schedule and looking at extending the time frame for the expectations for this committee. I think we had already pushed it out, I think a month or two, just because of the time frame that the contracting process took a little bit longer. It's still taking a little bit longer than what we thought. So I just wanted to make sure that all the committee members were comfortable with extending the time frame. So those were the things I wanted to talk about today for the Forest Resilience Guide. And then I had hoped to also talk about following up from Katie's presentation from the last meeting. And she specifically sent out a vision from Region 6 about collaboration. And so just wanted to hear people's thoughts on that. And then, yeah, we'll have time for general updates. Commissioner Church has some updates to share about some funding. And that's the plan for today. Before I turn it over to Diana, any other questions, thoughts about the discussions today or the agenda? Okay, awesome. Diana, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have a lot of substantive updates. Really, we're still in the procurement process. It's just been taking a really long time. So yeah, I'm hoping to hear any day now. It's been by far the longest we've usually dealt with, like, in getting a contract in place. So I'm not sure what the holdup is, but I do know there's a pretty big backup, just overall at CSU. So that's where we're at, just waiting on the contract. The sort of small work group that we had worked with, or I had worked with, Christina, Brett, I think Courtney had helped with that, and Katie. So we sort of talked through and looked at, we had like an additional detailed scope of work from the contractor, and had kind of talked through that. And I think the plan, once we have the contract in place, is to kind of get that little subgroup together and just work with the contractor, kind of line out meetings, how, kind of a regular schedule of how we're going to check in. And then again, like Christina said, probably looking at like this larger group and how that we can tie that in as well. So that's my plan as far as once the contract is actually fully executed and we can start moving on it. And I don't know if there's any questions or if there's anything else. I guess the one thing I did sort of think we could discuss would be if we wanted, if provided another extension or put the project period a little bit longer, just based on the time it's taking to get this contract in place, so that the contractor feels like they can do a solid job of getting the input and information needed. So
yeah, I think that definitely, I think we should have that discussion. I just want to make sure the committee members are aware of the schedule change and just comfortable with that. But I honestly don't remember when. I know we pushed it out already. When did we say I think it was like September, was that right? That we were expecting it to be completed?
Yeah, I think that's when we adjusted it to be complete. So again, just because we're already like partway into March, I just wanted to make sure there was enough time. I mean, I think it could probably still happen in that time frame. But I know I don't want things to feel rushed for anyone else, and coordinating with a lot of people on, getting information or having discussions about things can take a little while sometimes. So even if just another month or something is required, I think that would be probably sufficient.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with that. So I think we had originally proposed September. I think I would be totally fine pushing it out to October. Any concerns from committee members about pushing it out one more month?
I don't think I have a concern, but I'm just wondering if there's any other opportunity windows we'll be missing by moving it out a month. Not that we can do much about it, but if we pass a deadline or something, it'd be good to know it as we go by it. We'll waive.
Courtney?
I think one thing to consider, and I'm going to double check what this time constraint is that some of the council members will be possibly like reaching the end of their terms around that time. And I would hate for, the report to come out just like 1 month after many of you maybe are no longer on the council. So I'm going to double check what that exact date is, because that might be something to consider in this.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, if you could, it's up to you, Courtney, if you just want to email me or we can discuss it at the next meeting, but I think that would be helpful to know.
I've got 2 more years to go.
I don't remember when my end date is. But yeah, I think those original appointments, I can't remember. I think they would be coming up around then. Okay, well, and then as far as engagement for this committee, I think, so Diana, that's one thing I've been hesitant to add on, like another task for the committee, because we have the Colorado Forest Tracker and then the Resilience Guide. And so I've been kind of going back and forth about, should we add on another thing for this committee to focus on, and I've kind of held back on that because I anticipate that we would spend some time on the Forest Resilience Guide and have some discussions, and I want us to have enough time to provide support for that. So that was my thought, was just using the existing meetings we have. So these monthly meetings, to have like a standing agenda item for how we can support that effort.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, great. And then the smaller like work group, so that is, like Diana mentioned, me, Brett, Katie, and Courtney. So just let us know, Diana, once, we need to meet again to talk about next steps. But if anyone is interested in being a part of that little work group, specific for the contract of the Forest Resilience Guide, please reach out to me and let me know. And happy to include you on those meetings and discussions. Great. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for your input on the Forest Resilience Guide. Let's see. The next item on the agenda was the agreement. I keep wanting to say the MOU, but the leadership vision on working with collaboratives from Region 6. So I'm going to share my screen so you all can see that. And there was two things that I sent out. One was the actual final recommendations from the Colorado Forest Collaboratives Network. So Katie last time had shared about those recommendations, but she didn't have them actually finalized. So they are final now. So I will share my screen so you all can see that. So during that discussion, just following up from that, these were the specific recommendations to the Forest Health Council. And I think a few of these are definitely something that this committee can work on. I think an easy one that Katie queued up for us is working towards this recommendation, a specific action on formalizing support for collaboration. And so I don't know really what that looks like for this committee, but I think one example that Katie provided was this document here. And let me make sure that you all can see that.
We're not seeing it yet.
Thank you. Okay, how about now?
Yes, we got it now.
Awesome. So this was just an overall vision from Region 6 about collaboration. And there were definitions of success, developing a collaborative culture. So I sent this out and wondered, one, is there any thought or feedback about this specific vision? And two, is this something, knowing that the Forest Collaboratives Network said that this was a specific action that the Forest Health Council could take, do you all want to explore how this committee would possibly produce some kind of vision similar to this, or do you envision something different? So I will stop sharing for right now just to see if anyone has any specific thoughts or feedback. Oh, good. And I see Commissioner Shattuck McNally has joined us. So we do have a quorum now. So Courtney will call the meeting to order at 12:15. Yes, any thoughts about the vision, or if this committee should have any action items associated with a vision for collaboration? similar to that document. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, nothing really strong here, but the barriers to collaboration are just, you don't know who to talk to.
Mm,
And now here in the Southwest, we've got San Juan Headwaters. We've got one over in the western part of the CFLRP. I think the CFLRP has done a great job pulling collaboratives together, and with the mapping they're doing with the blobs now, the geographic places.
mhm.
I think things that would help collaboration would be the mapping and additional resources on the mapping side. We have one guy who's excellent, but it's taking more than that, it seems like. So I'm
Okay.
not that close to it, but it's just my general take on it. I mean, we have projects in places, so we're starting 2 projects this summer, the final form of EAs and the J Firm, which is, I think, 1,800 acres, and Durango Hills, which is another 1,800 acres. We've got congressionally directed spending, as well as a whole plethora of grants. But I don't know, the grants seem to be fairly well publicized. So it's just, maybe I'm thinking out loud here, and I apologize for
No,
that.
no, that's what this is for. That's what this space is for. So I appreciate your thoughts. So Commissioner, I guess what I'm hearing is, I think, one, we're gonna help with kind of that component of who to contact, like with that forest resilience guide. I think that was a big part of our interest in that. And in the mapping, I think the forest tracker is certainly on its way. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe we have that covered through those 2 products, that we focus on those and not necessarily a similar thing to like what Region 6 did. Does that represent your
I think that's pretty good.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. And then, Aaron, you posted something in the chat about the Dolores watershed forest.
Oh, I just think that was the other collaborative in that San Juan area.
Oh, okay,
Commissioner Church was referencing.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you. Okay, any other thoughts about the committee possibly proceeding or adding on, I guess, another action towards some kind of vision for collaboration? I think at this time, I'm totally fine just focusing on the forest resilience guide and the forest tracker, but just wanted to make sure that you all are comfortable with that. Okay.
So this is John. So I mean, we push this forward to the FHAC, and then we would ask the state to put out something like this. Is that what you're thinking? I mean, if that was the path because the only thing I'm saying is, like, with federal agencies, state agencies, it's almost like maybe this would be the lead, but for us to do it individually, right? So the BLM would do it, the Forest Service would do it, the Colorado State Forest Service would, because it's those different relationships we have with those partners, right? So, I mean, if we wanted to lead the way and do this to the FHAC council or the council, and then advocate for a state agency to do it, then maybe, that could start off, start the process for the BLM, the Forest Service, to think about doing something similar.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, just to make sure I understand, so it would be some kind of vision, essentially, either for the State Forest Service or DNR, but at the state level, that would be like a model for BLM and U.S. Forest Service and the federal agencies.
Yeah, because of course, the BLM foresters are going to want to do their own thing, right? Like, I don't know if, unless you're thinking about getting like a agency, federal agency, state agency wide letter together, which would probably take longer than just doing it individually, to be honest with you. But, and again, we have different relationships with these different collaboratives, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. That's just a thought.
No, that's helpful. I think having the federal perspective, that's helpful. Yes, Courtney.
Yes, I wanted to just add on to what John said and talk about maybe a potential pathway. I know for in the last annual report, this committee put forth an administrative recommendation to create the Forest Resilience Guide. So this could be something that ends up as an administrative recommendation, like the creation of a vision, but then recommending that the Department of Natural Resources and the State Forest Service implement something like this. So I'm just trying to think through the pathways that the committee could take to see this sort of coming into fruition.
That's very helpful. Okay, considering possibly like a recommendation for an administrative recommendation. Yes, sure.
That would be to the full Forest Health Council to make that recommendation, right? It wouldn't just be automatic. It'd have to be voted by the.
You are breaking up a little bit, Commissioner Shattuck McNally. I think I'll repeat what I thought I heard you say, but I think it was a question that it would be us basically going to Colorado Forest Health Council as a whole for them to do a recommendation, an administrative recommendation. Courtney, is that the correct process, or how would that work?
So the full council would have to vote on this, correct? Just like the legislative recommendations. Like we put these forward, but it's the full council that votes and takes recommendations or not, correct?
Yes, that's the pathway. Like recommendations move from committees to the full council for sort of adoption, and then they become or don't become full council recommendations.
That's helpful.
Thank you.
Well, I think that is interesting to for the council to consider, I guess, for this committee to consider possibly engaging with the Fuller Forest Health Council about a specific administrative recommendation for collaboration between Courtney. Again, I really need your insight into, and maybe the same from the State Forest Service folks. Would it be some kind of administrative recommendation about the two agencies, State Forest Service and DNR, collaborating, or would it be each individual state agency that we would be exploring? I don't want to make things uncomfortable for the agencies. If this is something that would not be helpful or confuse things like shared stewardship, I don't want to proceed down that path. Yes, Aaron.
I don't think it would be particularly confusing, but we are already committed to working collaboratively with partners across the state. It is goal 3 of our strategic plan, and we are launching a really large initiative to tie that into not only our annual work planning, but all of our performance reviews. So looking at the document from Region 6, I like the statement from leadership that it makes, but there's not a whole lot of action behind it. I know that we are taking really positive, like specific action to be more collaborative in our approaches to the work that we do. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Courtney.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar to Aaron, just in that the state forest is already doing like an incredible amount of collaboration. I would say the Department of Natural Resources doesn't have, we don't have a lot of staff close to the ground. I mean, other than within Colorado Parks and Wildlife, but they mostly have like a pretty narrow view in terms of like where they're working. So I can talk to Allison a little bit more about that to see if anything like this would change the way the Department of Natural Resources is doing business. But I would say at least within a few of our, really just our one forestry program, COSWAP, we have lots of collaboration going on also. But I'll bring this up to Allison and see if she thinks there would be a place for this within DNR, if it would change anything, and get back to you all about that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you all. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
I was basically going to repeat what Courtney and Aaron said. I feel like this is already happening quite a bit, and I wanted to kind of remind everyone we've already have some administrative recommendations from last year that are adding extra things to the plate for the organizations. And I heard this in our legislative committee where I think it was others, I don't remember, it's Director McCombs said, yeah, they're already doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So are we by saying do this, are we saying, is it going to be kind of a statement like, hey, you're not doing enough, do more,
Right.
or is it just a reaffirming? So I want to be really cautious and reflective and thoughtful about already the administrative directions that we put on that they're still trying to get through this year from our recommendations earlier this year, and also reflective on how we can recognize the work that's already happening and empower it or support it. Does that make sense? And that's
Yeah.
kind of my hesitation and my thoughts on that.
I totally agree.
Great, and thanks for being patient. My day has not gone as planned, so I'm not in a great position to be on my camera and stuff. So appreciate everyone's patience. Thank you.
Of course. No, thank you for your perspective. And I couldn't agree more. I think I appreciate everybody's thoughts on that. The reason I brought this up was this was a specific recommendation from the Colorado Forest Collaboratives Network for the Forest Health Council. And so that's why I wanted to talk through it. Was I do think that the State Forest Service and DNR, I think you're doing a great job collaborating. I don't know if I really saw a need, at least for this committee, to spend time taking this on as an additional thing, in addition to the Forest Resilience Guide, in addition to the Forest Tracker. But I wanted to have that dialogue just because it was a specific recommendation. But I think this has been helpful. But if you all support it, I think it's great to have that example from Region 6. And I think if, State Forest Service, DNR, if you all think that this would be something that would be beneficial to you, then let this committee know. But from what I'm hearing, I think you're doing a great job collaborating, and this may not necessarily be a value add at this point in time. So I think given that, I just wanted to have the discussion with the committee, but I don't see this as something that would be important for the committee to take on in future meetings or discussions. Yes, Aaron.
I know I'm here just as an advisory role to this committee, but I'm seeing those last two bullet points in that recommendation as more actionable items. Recommend the state work with collaborative leaders to create a new grant program that gives capacity funding to communities that don't yet have a collaborative group in place but could benefit from one, and renewing the 2023 recommendation to expand the capacity building component of the furworm or forest restoration and wildfire mitigation grant. Those were the ones that I was looking at as maybe more solid things. The first one is just kind of support collaboratives. So I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yes, no, that's very helpful. I'm going to, if you don't mind, Aaron, just so folks can see what we're referring to, I'm going to share my screen again. And so, Aaron, you're saying let's see. was it the last two? Is that
It was the green highlighted bucket under number 1
okay?
was what I thought maybe. Um,
Okay. Could you all see that before?
Can you zoom it in a little bit?
Sure. Okay. So right here, Aaron, these two.
I put them in chat too. I
Okay.
just those are what I saw as the opportunities
Okay.
when I read through that as something to think about and to consider. It's a common issue that folks talk about is there's a lot of money to do stuff, but to be able to do stuff, you need some things in place, you know, whether that's a facilitator or a coordinator or an executive director or a grant writer. To really get things moving, you need some of that capacity resources to really move your collaborative from the earlier stages of that collaborative framework that CFRI talks about into the stages where you're ready to receive funding and be really successful on the ground. I'm not sure 100% about those items. I think there may be other ways to do them, but I think that's what they're thinking of is how do we get those resources in places where it doesn't exist, and how can we use that ability to launch our collaborative to be successful.
Okay. That's very helpful. So I think as far as creating with these 2 bullets, creating a new grant program, I think that would be a combination of this committee and the legislative committee to create a new grant program. But the capacity building component of Furworm, that's certainly something that I think this committee could discuss it, how we could message that. So Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
And you're on mute, Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Sorry about that. I wasn't sure if I heard my name or someone else's name. I just wanted to say, these are exactly the conversations that the legislative committee had on Friday. And I feel like, are you guys trying to make legislative recommendations? Or are you trying to be supportive? Because these are exactly what we're getting ready to start putting on our list for 2025. And I think it's great that we're all kind of seem to be aligning that way, because when we bring them to the full Forest Health Council for approval, I think then you guys can also say you've had this conversation. But I'm wondering if also you're looking now to make legislative recommendations as well. Because to remind you all, last year, or for this session, one of our recommendations was the increasing the capacity portion of the grant for like $1 million, and that didn't get taken, but it's on our list of potential for the next coming session. And so I just want to kind of understand: are you guys now going to be also making legislative recommendations? And so
No.
just because we're having the exact same conversation, which is great, but it sounds like you're looking to the list. That sounds like what you're starting to talk about. And I just want to be just kind of understanding what you're looking to do, because we have the exact same conversation in the legislative committee, and we've also started talking about this coordinator position and having that as a conversation. So I just wanted to kind of give you that insight, and some of us sit on both, which is great. But I want to make sure what you guys are looking is: are you looking to support it? Are you want to make a recommendation of how it should look? I'm just trying to understand all that.
No. Commissioner,
Sorry,
we would not be proposing legislative changes, or I mean, that's fully within the purview of the legislative committee. And so I think, given that the legislative committee is working on this, I think That's great. And let us know, let this committee know, I think since you bridge both, how we can support you all in that. But I think,
Well,
yeah.
if I might, I'm sorry to interrupt. There is a chance because in the next, I know Corey will have those dates, but we get ready to talk about the recommendations for the next cycle, which we're trying to get way ahead and have more time to deliberate and also inform the budget cycle more, and also trying to really press on the ones that we really think are important to stress. We are going to offer have everyone come to our deliberation meetings, invite everyone to do that so you can hear the background. You wouldn't be able to vote because of the Ledge Committee, but you can come and inform the conversation because we want to engage more full council that's interested or those folks on this committee. So then when we come to the full Forest Health Council, we won't have as much of a big discussion as we did last time. Because that's the first time you guys have been hearing it. We kind of wanted to kind of start planting seeds for you all to think about it so that you have a little more background and there's more discussion and deliberation than just the one Forest Health Council meeting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. I think, so how about this, Commissioner? I will maybe before the next month's meeting, I'll reach out to you and maybe we have just kind of a cross-pollination between the legislative committee and this committee and how we can support your efforts specific to the collaborative capacity.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, it's really exciting and heartening for me to hear this because I think we all see the value in supporting the collaboratives, and we had two of the collaboratives, one from my county, come and talk, and I actually go and attend some of those meetings regularly. And there's actually two different groups in Larimer, both watershed oriented, and I think that it's great. It's so heartening to hear they're all having the same thoughts because I think that reflects that is kind of where the focus needs to be, if that makes sense. And so that's exciting for me to hear us all kind of aligning. So just wanted to make sure, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to make sure where you guys are headed and know that you are all welcome to come to those deliberation meetings because we really do want to have your input and your thoughts on this. So thank you. I appreciate you listening.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm glad that you're able to add that efficiency, and kind of the cross communication between the committees. So I really appreciate that. And I'll reach out to you before next month's meeting and we'll plan for that for next month.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Diana, you've had your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I'm not sure that there would be the need for creation of a new program because we already have that in the Furworm program, but maybe just that additional support. And it sounds like there's a lot of discussions around this. So, however that might look, but a lot of times I think people jump to like creating a new program when we actually have the ability to do that with the existing programs that we have. So that's all. Thanks.
Very helpful.
Yeah, let me clarify that. It wouldn't be creating, we've been looking at a community navigator thing. But also, we want to go back and add, maybe impress upon that $1 million for the Furworm capacity building portion to put more money specifically into that Furworm to expand that and to grow that program, or not grow it, but provide more funding for it. For specifically capacity building. So we're not trying to, I don't know if we're really trying to grow something new, but trying to reinforce that maybe more money needs to be put into capacity building in the Furworm. And then we haven't really voted on any of these. We haven't even taken preference. It's just already, we have kind of a list. And that was a recommendation for this year. And we have a running list, and that's one of the items on the list for our discussion and potential recommendations for next year. I want to be very clear. It's not an official one yet. It's just on the list, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's great. Okay. Well, so follow up. Like I said, I will plan for next month's meeting, and we can discuss as a committee how we can provide support for that capacity funding piece through Furworm, and supporting the legislative committee in their recommendations. So, okay. I do, since we do have a quorum, I do want to handle the one business item that we do have, which is approval of the December meeting minutes. Are there any questions, discussion about the meeting minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion for approval?
I move the adoption of the minutes from December 11th as posted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Minutes pass. Okay, we did our duty. Thank you all. And lastly, on the agenda, I wanted to leave time, Commissioner Church, for your updates and just general updates from the committee members. So Commissioner Church.
Yes, one of the things that I had in the minutes there was to report back on some of the things that are going on with view of federal grants, federal activity, and how that relates to different funding streams. And what I found, and not much of a surprise, with 3 collaboratives in the area, with CFLRP, Rocky Mountain Restoration Initiative, out on federal lands. The push down here in the southwest corner is very significant, with tribe, Southern Ute Indian tribe participating in those collaboratives. And but I would like to echo Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally's comment there about funding for firmware and capacity building. I think that's key, and getting communities headed in the right direction and doing something. One of the things that, I mean, here in the county, we have a couple $1 million between COSWAP and some congressionally directed spending. And one of the questions that comes up is, we know where we're doing things. We know where some of the high risk areas are, but where aren't we doing things? Where is there high risk with no activity, no buy-in, either from private landowners, federal standpoint, or local standpoint. So it's a patchwork and it's a mapping process and it's a huge communication project. But it's going to take another couple of years, I think, working through the collaboratives, building capacity throughout the region, throughout the state. But the firmware, COSWAP, federal state funding, SFA dollars that are federal dollars coming through the state, and let's see, forest restoration, wildfire and forest health. Yeah, all those types of grants are a patchwork, and we're making a lot of progress, but the coordination between the pieces is something we need to take a look at.
Okay.
That may be a future agenda item.
Yeah.
And it's part of improving leverage.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did we leave behind 2 years from now that we really should be paying attention to?
Yeah. That's very good point. Okay. So Commissioner Church, I may be reaching out to you, but yes, I agree. I think it'd be good to discuss at a future meeting how we can help leverage and ensure efficient coordination among all those different funds. And I think it also kind of gets to some of the point that we had talked about in the past about just overall tracking accomplishments too, and being able to capture all the good things that have been done with this funding collectively.
There may be some other partners out there that would lend some insight.
Okay.
Rocky Mountain MSI Mountain Studies Institute.
Okay.
And the Rocky Mountain Research Center. Forest Research.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Well, I will work with you, Commissioner, on developing a future agenda item for discussion for a future committee meeting.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you for that perspective. And Selwyn, Chief White Skunk, I wondered if you wouldn't mind just providing your perspective and insight for this committee on making sure your perspectives are being heard, especially when it comes to leveraging resources. And I just want to take advantage of your time while you're here and just see if you have any thoughts, perspectives to share for this specific committee for tribal resources being leveraged.
Well, thank you, everyone who's here today. We are at this time in a transition with bringing on forestry personnel from the BIA as well as from the tribe and in its interdisciplinary natural resource team. And as I present the initiatives that the state, as well as this, not only this leveraging committee, but the legislative committee, we're developing a position paper or position as to how the tribe can participate actively, more actively in the initiatives that are being contemplated at these committee levels, as well as the Forest Health Council. We're going to take a more proactive position and involvement, because a lot of what is being discussed and what is being passed legislatively impacts us as a tribe as well as a part of Colorado. And we need to have this collaborative initiative and inclusion, both Southern Ute and Ute Mountain, as we embark on some of the legislative bills that have come across Governor Polis's office, as well as our discussion with Lieutenant Governor as well as the governor. And they're anxious to see where the tribes are with the initiatives that are put before the legislators to act upon, and for him to sign as well into law. So with that, we're going to be at the Capitol this Friday presenting our position paper as to the many different committees as well as the initiatives. The Healthy Forest and the documents that have come before us that I've received have been reviewed by our natural resource departments, as well as our tribal council individuals. We do have a meeting set up with the Southern Ute Indian Tribe on some of these issues and initiatives. So what we're going to initiate is a consultation requests for the different committees, as well as the Forest Health Council, to meet with the tribes to establish a relationship that is understanding as to the initiatives that were set forth in this committee, as well as the Healthy Forest Council. We may have the Southern Ute Tribe bring on another individual besides myself that represents the Ute tribes, both Southern Ute and Ute Mountain. We may have another individual joining us from the Southern Ute Tribe to assist both tribes and have a clear path and direction as to what's going on. So all the initiatives that have come before us have the tribe's support. We just need to continue to have these types of collaboratives. And as you know, in this leadership position, we may attend some of the meetings, but I'm going to bring on another alternate to my position to help me with this, now that I've taken a more vice chairman role, which is a bigger role than what other council members have within the organization. The chairman and I are spread thin in initiatives that we're working on as well, from the federal government, state government, as well as non-tribal engagement. So we're supportive, and as a committee, you've indicated you wanted to know the perspectives of the tribes and the initiatives, and we're taking the time to make a position on those very said components that are in question. So we're working towards what you want to discuss with the tribes, as well as what the tribes wishes as well. So we're going to have this relationship, and we have set meetings coming up this week with the Colorado Commission on Indian Affairs, as well as other initiatives that is going to happen within the next 2 to 3 months down the road. So we've been viewing from afar, but it's time for us to really participate in these process that we're given the opportunity to do. So we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's really exciting to hear that you're going to have this position paper and also the alternate. And if there's anything this committee can do to help support the paper and also engage with your alternate, we are happy to do that. So please let us know any way we can help with those things.
Yes, we look forward to it, and we'll be emailing that out, and I have some of my assistants that will also be joining in on what's taking place. And it's important to have this relationship, and it's unique. We have a unique relationship with the legislators and the state officials in different departments. It's something that we really enjoy, and we're very proud of this relationship with the state and our inclusions as well as a part of the state of Colorado. So we thank you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. Thank you so much. Any other updates from committee members or anyone else? It doesn't have to be a committee member. Anyone on this call? Any updates?
I have a quick one. We are, as Larimer County, planning a big kind of wildfire / mitigation kind of conference in May. And so far, it looks like we might be partnering with Colorado State Forest Service on this. And it's also kind of aligns with that directive that is a full forest house council we gave for this session about giving the public forum to help us understand more about vapor pressure deficit, adaptive silviculture, and kind of the work needs for that. That's kind of being developed and worked on. And I just wanted to kind of let you all know once it gets more definite details and activities, I'll make sure everyone has that information. So just want to share that.
Great. We'll look forward to that.
There's one more update that we have is we brought in the regional forest director from the Albuquerque area, Southwest region, that is now on staff with the Ute Mountain Ute BIA agency, as well as we've brought on a new fire management officer for the tribe, and we are what we call the Public Law 93-638. We have taken our natural resource Department of Resource program from the BIA, and it will be initiated by the tribe to look at natural resource issues, particularly our forest range and our juniper areas that tabletop Mesa areas as well. So we have a big meeting tomorrow with all those said individuals, and I will cue them into what we're doing at this level as well. So it's so cool that we're going to have people on hand that can really address a lot of the initiatives that this committee and the other committee, the legislative committee, leveraging committee, as well as our Forest Health Council. So we're bringing on board people on board to help us make sound decisions for the betterment of the tribe and its surrounding communities, counties, Forest Service people as well. So we have done an extraordinary job in this committee and other committees, and the Forest Health Council has done a really good, sound job for the tribes and for the people of Colorado. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for the update. Yes, Commissioner Church.
Muted, sorry. I'd just like to remind everybody that the After the Fire conference is being held at the YMCA facility and conference center up in Estes Park, I believe it is.
Yep,
And
in Commissioner Shattuck McNally's county.
yes, coming up to spend some money. But it's going to be a great conference. What happens after the fire? Who do you talk to? How do you react? Community workshops, a whole host of different programming over a 2.5 day period. So we'll be up there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And yes, Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Well, we'll look forward to having you all up in my backyard. I was just there yesterday. I just wanted to share kind of a leveraging resources story as a pilot program with partnership from money from my office as county commissioners, Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, Front Range, CSU, and I believe the Colorado State Forest Service, where there'll be paid internships for I think just 3 or 4 interns. They will have paid internships. They're also able to live in the firehouse in Loveland for free if they want to live inside the firehouse, and they'll be going out and doing projects and mitigation work in high-risk areas for Loveland Fire Authority for a few weeks, and then they're going to go on to the other side and do some work, I believe, it's either Jackson or Grand County, but it'll be interesting to share with you all how that works. But it's exciting. I think there'll be a public announcement coming soon. But again, partners leveraging money to grow workforce capacity, and at the same time trying to get some of these folks on a strong career path in this area and get some mitigation done. So I just wanted to share that.
That is fantastic. That's great. What a great story and example. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, our last couple minutes, and anything else yes, Aaron.
I'll just mention really quickly that we've been working with some community colleges with the recent legislation offering free forestry education. I noticed that Pueblo Community College down in southwestern Colorado is accepting applications for 20 positions for their first forestry and wildfire programming that would start in March. So they're utilizing those resources and starting to develop that stuff out of there, and lots of really good work still happening out of Front Range Community College and their SAF accredited program there as well. So
That is great. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Commissioner Church.
Yeah, I would just like to say that we are down here in the southwest corner strapped for resources when it comes to people that can handle a chainsaw or have a degree in forestry of some sort. We're trying to put together some sort of overview of how the educational capacity building is working. We're encouraging it statewide because we don't want the northwest corner stealing our Sawyers from the southwest corner, and we need more for the Southern Ute and the Ute Mountain Ute. Development of that skill and talent is a long-term issue here in the Southwest, as is forest products, and trying to build that capacity at the far end of the output, because we've been giving away ponderosa logs down here in the southwest corner because it's coming off faster than it can be used. And it's going to private business. We're trying to help small businesses get started and become profitable and successful long term. So it's one big ball of string.
Yes, thank you. Well, we are at time. Thank you all so much for the great dialogue today and your participation. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 1 p.m. and looking forward to next month's meeting. Thank you all.